It's a pleasure to be back here again this year, and thank you for staying to listen to my presentation. So I think Alex provided a brief introduction, but just to introduce myself, I look after AI and innovation for hospitality solutions. I think many of you will probably be more familiar with Sabre Hospitality, which was our former company, but we manage the e-commerce and distribution platform for about 40,000 hotels globally. I joined what was Sabre 2023, July 2023. I used to have an e-commerce platform that helped hotels sell anything beyond the room. It was a startup called TechSembly. That was acquired by Sabre. Subsequently, almost 2 years that day, then Sabre sold the hospitality division to a private equity group called TPG, which is based out of San Francisco. They have a wide investment portfolio with many brand names that you'll probably recognize, like Airbnb. So now what I was just going to discuss today is really following on a lot from what Sam and Richard just discussed, a very hot topic, which is kind of like AI optimization or GEO. So I'm going to share with you the trends that we're seeing in the hospitality industry today and what impact we think it's going to have in actually shaping the future. So I think we all know the e-commerce journey hasn't changed in over 30 years. It's still very much assumed that your guests know exactly where they want to travel, the destination they have in mind, the dates, and the party size. Now, while the latter may hold true, the former certainly doesn't. And in fact, 60% of today's guests have no specific destination in mind when they start thinking about that booking journey. And if you asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said, well, the one place to go for that was social media. But actually, with a rapid rise and increase in Gen AI has displaced both search and social media as the #1 travel discovery platform. What it's almost showing is it's becoming your guest's almost confident and trusted advisor, because they're no longer getting a listing, they're getting a curated response and recommendation. So what this means is they're showing there's a real change in guest behavior. They're actually moving away from passive consumption to immersive consumption, where they really want to be part of the conversation, and in fact, they really want to control the narrative. So if we think about the way search used to work, you used to put 2 or 3 keywords like 5-star hotel Paris. Now what we're seeing through these Gen AI interfaces is those queries are 2 to 3 times longer. And they're actually starting to reveal guest intent. So this is the first time we're starting to understand from a personalization perspective what your guests want and why they're interacting with your brand. So it might be a query, for instance, I want a 5-star hotel that's kid-friendly, close to the Eiffel Tower, has an interconnecting room, and has childcare facilities. All of that comes through on one specific prompt. So it's no longer, and I think Sam and Richard from 80 Days mentioned it before, it's no longer about how beautiful your website is. It's about how your content is structured and enabled for this future. The key thing I'd say is it's going to be more important now than ever to get this right. Because the way we view the going forward with the rise of agentic AI, which is really agent to agents actually making bookings, the need for decentralized identity, and the move towards giving guests back more control of their data through GDPR and AI Act. We envisage all of your guests at some point having their own travel companion. And that travel companion will actually make booking recommendations on the guest's behalf. It'll also make those bookings in real time and the modifications and update their itinerary as they go. And for that future, it's so important because these agents are going to go to the most trusted source of truth to get the most accurate information they want to provide the right recommendation to that guest. So again, it's reflecting, it's so important that you are part of that narrative. The biggest issue today, and I think it's been touched upon, is if you look at those travel queries and responses, the OTAs are still dominating about 75% of those queries. And the reason for that is they were the first to partner with these AI interfaces. AI likes to learn from one to many, can get mass global reach, and being able to, to populate their data banks. The key thing is, although that, and also they've built their sites within the white labeled solutions within these interfaces. That's where we're at today. So you may think, well, is the battle already over? Have they already won? Are we going to see with AI interfaces exactly what we saw with search, where search, the OTAs dominate 85% of the top search inquiries? Where we believe they've won today is on surfacing generic high intent keywords. But where the real value is going to be going is being able to look at the long tail keywords, look at below the surface of being able to map guest intent with guest facilities, profiling, and being able to enhance your data sources to be able to understand and serve these queries better. And we believe the real opportunity is really with the hoteliers. And if you start thinking about a future where it's harder for guests to, where they have more control of their data, if they're going to share their intents and their needs, their more personalization, who are they going to share it with? They're going to share it with somebody who can provide a much more enhanced guest offering so that when you come onto property, you have a much more enhanced service that you wouldn't have anywhere else. So when we start thinking about, there's a few things that we are looking at within hospitality solutions. First is really helping you to be able to structure that data. So if you think about that middleware, unifying your data sources, looking at your hotel profile, how can we enrich that to service it to these AI interfaces? And then we're also looking at the reasoning layer. And the reasoning layer is above is one thing to have the right content, but AI likes to go as close to the source and being able to provide real-time rates, recommendations. So it's not only what the term is like MCP, which is Model Context Protocol, which is making those APIs readable. We also have to make them reasonable as well in terms of like A to A to be able to actually action and make those bookings within those channels. And that's something that we're looking to build. When we talk now about, well, as hoteliers, what are our recommendations and how should you start thinking about the journey? The first thing we would recommend is that if you already don't have on your website today, is to have an AI agent or a conversational tool to start guiding the guest journey. And that is, not only does that help to drive increased transactions and also reduce manual working hours because AI can help answer the common queries and the booking queries. But one of the key things that we are starting to see through these channels is the first time you're really understanding how your hotels are how your guests are interacting with brand.com. What queries are surfacing through those channels that you might not have the data on today. So for instance, we did a pilot with Langham Hotel groups in Hong Kong. And one of the queries or things that would surface was, in the hotel rooms, do they have a mirror? Do they have a window above my bed? And nobody from the hotel would have ever thought that question would have arisen. And if so, where do they store that data? So by having these conversational aids and these AI tools to overlay the booking engine, you're going to start to really understand those data gaps that you have already. And that might be about accessibility. It might be about amenities. There's so much enrichment that you can do today that might not be surfaceable at the moment through these AI interfaces in terms of the way your data is structured. The next thing is, and I mentioned before, is that, there's a lot of people out there, technology companies, we're all trying to solve for it. We need to have that middleware, the ability to kind of like to unify the different data sources. That's one thing, and then making that content enriched. But secondly, is that reasoning layer above it. That is going to be the most important, being able to provide personalized offers, understanding guest intent, and matching guest intent with something that they might not have, which is not necessarily about rates, but it's also about a bundled offer. There is so much opportunity in being able to manage one-to-one interactions and provide a much more enhanced experiences through A to A moving forward. The one thing I would say is that as an industry, and we're starting to build that middleware content of unifying it together, it's really important that you put the guardrails around that data about controlling who you supply that data with. Because if you supply the same data to the OTAs, you're going to be more as discoverable in the OTAs as you would direct. So one thing we can help you do is enhance your data, fill those gaps, and recommend what you need to do, what AI is looking for that you are not showing up on today. But secondly, is making sure that you control who you give that access to that data, because that data is your superpower. And in the world of AI, the ones that are going to win are the ones that are going to be becoming really deep intent, discoverability, that's really going to be able to understand and enrich the data source at the core. And there's a huge opportunity there that lies, and we believe the real opportunity is back to the hotel. So for us, from a distribution perspective, we want to enable you with the choice to choose who you want to distribute to as well, but we're also going to help you enable that data, and again, provide the same guardrails around which sources which you share that data with, because that's what AI wants, and that is what's going to provide you as a key differential. So it really follows on from everything that 80 Days suggested. This is going to be the future, and I think you as a hoteliers are best placed to win that, and it's our obligation as your tech partners to ensure we make that happen. So thank you. That's, again, you're hearing a lot about GEO or AIO, however, all the different acronyms, and I know there are so many of them. The one thing I would say is this space is evolving all the time. Every day I wake up and I learn something new, different players. It can become overwhelming, but the simplest thing for you right now is build the foundations, start the foundations, and you are the best place to win. And I think however it pans out in the future, we will ensure that we make sure that you are ready for that. Thank you very much.